Okay, today we are going to review RJS and Vega V2, talking about mid lane, talking about a specific matchup, talking about runes, and I will give my own opinion on this as well. Have not watched the video. I think we will start with this one, where he talks about the specific matchup, and he talks about how I've watched this half of it, where he talks about what's it called? How the runes affects the matchup in a way which is not really correct, because he doesn't talk about the fact that Mr. Fudge is legitimately trolling lane. So if you're gonna talk about that, you have to open up about the fact that he is griefing lane extremely hard. Okay, so I think we just start with this one. I will just pause whenever I feel like it's needed. And then we watch this one after. Not gonna watch the entire thing, because it's a long video. And I'm assuming eventually there's going to be some stuff that will overlap. So probably not gonna watch the entire thing. Might speed it up, depending on if it's relevant or not. But yeah, let's just jump into it.
Just another quick concept.
Can you hear? Tell me if you can hear him, and if it's good enough, or if I should move my camera as well.
Video.
I'll put it a bit louder.
And the topic of this video will be why early game runes are so important and so game changing in.
Do you hear? All right, good.
League of Legends, especially for mid lane. Just a quick disclaimer here before I really get into anything. I'm personally just gonna be talking about just the runes in game and just the champions in game, and I don't want any sort of no ill will towards any player in the game or any coaching staff involved in this game. People have bad meta reads all the time, and they have strategies that they try out that simply don't work out, and I've had these cases before myself.
Okay, I think I'll just keep it normal. I think it's a little bit easier, but yeah, he will just talk a bit.
I've been incorrect in the past about some things in the game, and it's fine. It's all in the process of learning, and everybody, all the coaching staff, all the players for both these teams are smart guys, and they have the capability of adapting and playing well. So with that out of the way, we can just take a look at the two rune setups here for the Lux and the Victor. So Lux is like a pretty good matchup versus Victor. Actually, it's like kind of like an OG counter pick, slightly.
Okay, so this is in some sort of way true in terms of the fact that he outranges the Victor, but for lane specifically, I don't think there's anything you can really do, because he offers a lot more wave clear. He has better trading pattern. So in lane, the first 5 levels at least, there's not really anything you can do in the lane. Sure, you can like get the CS because of the fact that you have really long range. You cannot get all the CS if Victor is good. And that doesn't change if you have Scorch or if you have Biscuits. That doesn't change. And that I am sure of.
Lux is like a pretty good
Seen the double stop.
matchup versus Victor. Actually, it's like kind of like an OG counter pick, slightly. Just has more range than Victor. Is very safe versus Victor. Can farm it up, and in general, like pretty not bad matchup actually. Like Lux is pretty playable into Victor, but we can see.
And yes, it is definitely playable for sure. After 6, like nothing really happens in the lane. Lux just gets free scaling, and she will outrange the Victor. But again, the first couple of levels, you are not in the need to win. Yes, you can contest, but if you go even CS, that is good for you as the Lux. And again, it will not change if you have Gathering, if you have Transcendence, and Futures will not make a difference. Because the goal for you on Deluxe shouldn't be to get prio. It shouldn't be to hard win the matchup. It can maybe happen if Victor is bad and Lux is good, but it shouldn't work like that. Because again, eventually you will outrange him and he cannot really play against your champion. And of course, then No, I will talk about Scorch later. I think Scorch is not as bad as people think it is, but I will talk about it.
Fudge opted in here for a Manifold Blend, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, and a Futures Market, Cosmic Insight, while Jojopian opted in for Summonary, Mana Flow, Ab Focus, Scorch, Cookies, and a Time Warp Tonic. And let's see how, or just to add some context to this, there's some tweets from Veigar V2, like, cookie users, where you at? I just told him, if you try Futures Market versus any good player, you'll get zoned back to Fountain, and you're not going to be able to play, and Jojopian will show you how mid lane actually plays out, like when you take early game runes. And this tweet here, it was crazy. I put this tweet out when Jojopian was smurfing on them, and I instantly got like 20 comments, at a snap 20 comments of just like a AI kind of like bot attack. Like it was like a hive mind of just...
Okay, so I just want to comment on this because, again, he doesn't talk about... He's a mid laner, first of all, right? He's a mid laner. He doesn't talk about the fact that like, he doesn't talk about the fact that Fudge is griefing lane. And he doesn't also talk about it in this video, from what I've seen so far at least. So, this tweet, it can, if you phrase it differently and you talk about the fact that, yes, this is happening, but you don't talk about the fact that he's griefing lane, which is essential, then it's just a retard. It's just a very, very, very bad tweet, in my opinion.
And they got like 20 comments, at a snap 20 comments of just like a AI kind of like bot attack. Like it was like a hive mind of just so many negative comments, and just everyone was so mad. So let me just get into this game and let me explain like how early game runes are just winning you the game.
And again, what he's going to be saying now is just flat out wrong.
From mid lane, so...
Because he's saying, like, early game runes wins him the game, but it has nothing to do with early games runes in this specific case. It has something to do with the fact that Fudge is not playing lane correctly at all.
How early game runes are just winning you the game from mid lane. So, as we can see here, Jojopian has Corrupting Pot, Lux has Sapphire Crystal, she's obviously going for a Futures Market, so you get a fast Lost Chapter.
Yeah, so best outcome for Fudge would be he can base on Lost Chapter and refillable. That would be like perfect dream situation. But that is kind of unrealistic if they play the 2v2 correctly. These two. Because they should win the 2v2 in my opinion. Yeah, so... yeah, best case scenario is refill and Lost Chapter base, but it should be unrealistic. But realistic base is Lost Chapter base into TP.
And it's funny, she needs like 3 potions. She doesn't go refillable potion because she knows she needs 3 potions to...
Right, and here is my issue with this video. Just, we will watch it and then I will go back.
Survive this potions. She doesn't go refillable potion because she knows she needs 3 potions to survive this Victor lane with this setup, with this absolutely useless setup. So she's spending 150 gold on potions already that she's just going to have to eat through because, as we can see, this Victor's just going to be...
Right, and Machine Gun, shut up, Mikkel. This is the issue. He's just shitting on the rune choice instead of being critical and actually like talking about the fact that Fudge is trolling lane. If we go back, I'll just slow down the video because he has it speeded up. Look at mid lane.
This setup with this absolutely useless setup. Refill.
So, this is good.
You get a fast lost chapter, and
this is good, right?
She.
This is fine. He should have taken the CS and not the hit on him. What's important in this matchup for Lux is that she gets the CS, because the faster she gets the CS, or the better she CS's in the first 5 waves, the faster she can get Lost Chapter, and the faster the lane starts becoming a lot more playable. But he doesn't talk about that, because yes, Fudge takes the
Funny,
trade.
she needs like 3
This trade is okay.
potions.
It's not
She
the end of the
doesn't
world.
go refillable potion because she knows she needs.
And then Fudge starts walking up here. There's the minion wave right now is slow pushing into Fudge, which is good, right? That is really fucking good. The minion wave is pushing into Fudge right now, so he can just collect the minion wave, wait for the wave to come in, E the minions he has to E, and then he's good. But then he starts taking these really, really random trades that he will never win, because, I mean, you're playing Lux, who is a mage, versus Victor, who has a shield, and Q, Scorch, Airy, full early game runes. You shouldn't be trading unless it is for the wave or QE on him potentially, but yeah, for the wave. And he's not talking about that, he's just talking about how shitty this rune setup is because he's losing all his potions and whatnot, but yeah, we'll
3
just keep watching.
potions to survive this Victor lane.
Yeah, and this trade was really, really bad because
She knows
he's not getting any CS and he's just walking up for
she
fun.
needs 3 potions to survive this Victor lane. With this setup, with this absolutely useless setup.
Right, and you really can't say this. Like, it's so delusional. You can't say that it is such a useless setup and blah 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 blah, and not talk about the lane. If you are a challenger mid laner yourself, you should be able to spot this, in my opinion, every single time. And he is a challenger mid laner, I believe. I think he was a professional player. I don't know if he still is. But yeah, he's not talking about this, and this is really troll, because it's just clickbait video and doesn't add anything to
this
the
Victor
video.
lane. With this setup, with this absolutely useless setup. So she's spending 150 gold on potions already that she's just gonna have to eat through, because as you can see, this Victor's just...
And again, right? Again, the same thing. He's not talking about it. He's just talking about the fact that he's losing potions, it's unplayable, blah 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 blah.
Gold
but he's
on
not
potions
talking
already.
about the fact that Fudge, again,
that
he just steps up
she's just gonna
for
have
no
to
real reason.
eat through.
It's fine to give this minion as long as you don't lose your entire HP bar. But he's losing his entire HP bar, doesn't get the minion, he's just griefing, and he's not talking about that.
Because as we can...
Right, and of course the lane is unplayable when you grief this hard.
see, this
Of course, but again, he's not talking about it.
Victor's just gonna be smurfing on him like...
And it is, I mean, yes, you can say that he's smurfing on him, but you can also say that Fudge is just misunderstanding the matchup or playing it really bad, because yeah, I would say that this is how it naturally should go, but it has nothing to do with the runes at all.
like, it's just crazy. This Lux is pretty much laning with no runes. Early game runes are so important to your early lane. They're so game changing.
And again, this is not true at all. Yes, you can maybe contest the Victor in terms of auto attacks E and Q, but you can never contest the minion wave. You do not have more minion wave control than Victor in this matchup ever, no matter what you do. And I am sure of that. So, he's not talking about the fact that Lux is trolling. Yes, if Lux is not griefing really hard and Lux is playing it how she should, then Victor will still have push, but at level 6, Mr. Fudge will have Lost Chapter, maybe boost refill, not sure, but definitely Lost Chapter, and then he can just ult the wave and he will have push, or he will have move opportunities. So he's not talking about the fact that he's trolling, and that is my biggest concern about how he's viewing this.
They dictate the tempo of...
Anyways, I will go back and you can
early
hear.
game runes are so important to your early lane. They're so game changing. Like, they dictate the tempo of the game completely, especially for mid lane, where the role of mid lane, it's so important to have priority and have
also disagree with the fact that he's saying, the role of mid lane is so important that you have prio, blah, 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 blah. It depends on draft. It depends on how you want to play. So you can't just say that mid lane is just so important and you need to have prio all the time, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
The role of mid lane, it's so important to have priority and be strong in mid lane and have push. And when you take these runes, you're really trolling your whole team. Like, look at this Lux. She is so fucked. She's already burned through all 3 of her potions. She can't lane. She's getting denied CS.
Yeah. And again, the reason he's fucked has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he has Futures Market and he has Gathering Storm and Absolute Focus. It has nothing to do with that.
Her wave is fucked. This game's over already. This game's over. Look at this wave. This is a direct consequence of her early game runes.
Yeah, and again, nothing to do with the runes at all. It has something to do with how he played it. Nothing to do with runes.
This isn't the matchup. This isn't anything. This isn't misplay or anything.
And here he directly says that this isn't the matchup and this isn't a misplay. And that is so wrong.
This isn't the matchup. This isn't anything. This isn't misplay or anything. This is a direct consequence of the runes she took. Victor TP's back here?
Yeah. And here he directly says it. So, don't know what to really say there. It's just flat out wrong. It has nothing to do with the runes at all. It has not something to do with how he played it. Because worst case scenario, you are maybe down like 6 to 10 CS, I think, at level 6. Worst case scenario. And you don't have prio. That is worst case scenario. You don't have prio. And you're down 6 to 10 CS at level 6. Right? So, it has nothing to do with the runes. And nothing to do with... It has everything to do with how he played it.
Now here, they actually get a really good punish on Jojo off here. So Jojo wants to keep pressuring. He's up a million CS already. This is literally game losing. The game's pretty much over already from mid lane. And Jojo has this wave coming back into him. So I think Inspired does just a little mini blunder here. I think Jojo should be calling really strongly for Inspired to come to mid lane and to fight 2v2 on this freeze. But Jojo actually gets punished. Good route from Lux. And they actually pick up the kill on Jojo. So they save Lux's game a little bit with that little gank, but as we can see here, like, it really does not matter. The rune gap is too much. So Lux actually gets her Lost Chapter off, right? She gets her game saved. She gets Lost Chapter off.
Okay, so this is best base you can get on Fudge here. So very nice. Very nice.
Victor has these items, comes back to lane. And just look, it does not matter.
It's not true.
And just look,
this
comes back to lane.
This is also not
and
true.
Just look,
because this is natural. This is natural. You are a challenger mid laner. You should know this. What happens now is that the wave is pushed in. After they kill him, there's a huge stack, and the wave bounces back into Lux. So this has nothing to do with the runes at all. It has something to do with the natural way that minion waves work. So I hope that... I have not watched at this point, so I don't know what he will say now.
Comes back to lane. And just look. It does not matter that the jungler literally... They got lucky, and they saved Lux's game completely. And it just doesn't matter. Victor is in a piss kingdom in mid. This Lux is absolutely worthless. This team cannot fight around mid anytime that this Lee Sin is with this Victor. Like, they have zero control over the game. This Lux is just going to be constantly getting drained in CS. She's going to have zero prio. She's going to be able to like ult these waves, right? She ulted these waves. She's going to push. She's going to reset. But you can just see she's going to be pressured the entire lane. She's losing CS. She's losing CS more and more and more because of these runes. And these CS and pressure that she's losing is more impactful than any sort of late game scaling that you can get from your rune setups. It's just 100% more impactful.
So, just want to point out that, again, this has nothing at all to do with runes. Because now when we reach 6, he can't really realistically miss a single CS if he plays it correctly. So nothing to do with runes at all. It has something to do with how they play the game, how they rotate on the map, and him losing CS. Nothing to do at all with his runes.
And a consequence of the matchup, this matchup, Lux doesn't go down 30 CS versus Victor. This isn't a thing that happens. Like, this is, maybe it's not the best example, and like it won't show, I don't think this game shows like the laning phase, but you guys just have to believe me on this one. Just throw me a bone here and just forgive the example or whatever. You can say it's a bad example or something. Like this is Lux versus Victor right here. Lux is chilling. They're both farming. Look at the farm. Look at the CS. They're both useful. They're both good. Lux is keeping up in farm.
This is the worst example of all time. This is pre-hex core removal. This is, I think cookies have been changed. This is 2017. The players arguably have no idea about how to lane, I think, in this spot. So this is probably the worst example of all time. And yes, you cannot say trust me on this one. That's not how it works. You can say your opinion on stuff and you can mention why this is better and whatever, but yeah, this is, I'm not gonna watch this. Okay. I think we just move into the Veigar one. I have not watched this as well. I think I mean I don't know what will happen, so we will just watch.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for thanks. Finally get to talk to you.
Also, I think it's really good from Vega that he like. Also, really insane that he's up at 7 a.m. or something. Like, I saw it on Twitter that he was gonna talk with him or something, and then I went to bed. But insane that he's just gonna do this, whatever. So just roll it.
Twitter's so AIDS, man.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, I just want to start with, like, it's really cringe. Like, I'm looking at your tweets, and every single time it's a fucking bloodbath in the comments.
It's a shit
like,
show,
so
bro.
cringe.
It's so crazy.
Like, I look at every tweet and it's like, you're just getting flamed per man. I mean, like, I disagree with some of the things you say, but also I agree with some things. But it's like, in the end, you're judging people's gameplay, not, you know, personality. Like, I watched this video now. I haven't watched all of it yet, but I watched like a bit of it. And the fact that you need to say what you did at the start is so unbelievable to me. Like when you said like how you're not attacking anyone, right?
Yeah, like
it's so fucking crazy that you have to say that. Like that's so insane.
Yeah, I don't want to start like drama or anything, because like that's always been something I hated. Like I hated like social climbing and like starting drama. It's like so cringe to me. Like I never want to do that shit.
Is it? You're just talking about in-game runes.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've seen up until this point of the video, and I mean, first like just in general on your tweets, like I agree with some things. Like for example, when you say,
I just want to talk about, before I like watch even further, I just want to talk about cookies, and I want to talk about futures market. I want to talk about how they're utilized, because I think people are misunderstanding how they can be used. So let's say you're playing like Syndra versus Victor, for example. It is a matchup that Syndra is favored in, but if Syndra misses too many Qs or misses her stun or whatever, then you can win it and you can get ahead in the matchup. It relies on Syndra fucking up, and it relies on you having good movement and whatnot, but this is a matchup where you could go this, and you also can win the matchup if she fucks up. If you are the Syndra on the other hand, you should do this, in my opinion. This doesn't matter, but we'll do something like this, right? But if you are the victor in the matchup, you can actually win it if Syndra is missing too many Qs and she's missing stun and whatever, right? So you can take biscuits and you can hope, or you can try to outplay the matchup, But if you're the Syndra in that case, you should obviously believe in yourself, and you should believe that you are winning the matchup, and you should be doing this, right? But if you're the Victor, it's fine to take this because you already outscale the champion. So if you can win the matchup, I would agree that this is better. If you can win the matchup, you already win. So, yeah, and if you are the Syndra, most cases it would look like this. Yeah, this is how I feel about it. But yeah, Syndra, or not Syndra, but Victor can do this, because if he plays it well and she fucks it up, yes, then you can win.
Junglers aren't as big of a carries in general on your tweets. Like, I agree with some things. Like, for example, when you say junglers aren't as big of a carries anymore, I can agree on that. I don't agree with the fact that they're useless though. But I agree that of course they're weaker. It's delusional to think they're stronger because there's obvious changes to the game, right, that make carry junglers weaker.
Yeah. It's still viable. Like, I think it's like pretty well balanced right now. Actually, like I think you can like play both styles like to some degree of success. But like I definitely like ganking. Like low econ is I would say it's like more effective, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think champs like Hecarim and stuff can work and it's fine. I think in some games where there's like Jinx,
I just want to comment on that quickly as well. I think in terms of like jungle strength, with the crab nerf and with the crab nerf and how competitive works in general, I would in most cases rather have, you know, a strong laner or a strong ADC than I would have a strong jungler. But if you are drafting around the jungle, you can do that, and it can work. If you are playing like Karthus or Hecarim or, I mean, Eve or whatever, stuff that can solo carry the game if they are ahead, then I think that is completely fine to do, and you can do that, but it just depends on the draft. It depends on the draft, it depends on how you want to play as a team. But both styles can work, and both styles are flexible, so... and both styles are good right now if you play them to... If your team plays around it, right? If you just pick Karthus or Hecarim for the sake of picking it, it can end up being very bad, right? So you should realize why you're doing it in the first place, and you should draft with intention and not because you want or because you have to... Or not because you just want to do it because, you know, oh my god, Hecarim, run fast, woo, you know. Yeah, both styles can work, and I agree with this for sure. And I also agree with what RJS is saying here, with the fact that junglers are not as strong as they were Worlds last season or 2 seasons ago, with the carry junglers and the crab being really broken. And if you get double crab, you just get 6 when enemies 4 or almost on his way to 5. So I agree with that for sure. I think he is correct in that. And what I mean by that is, you know, champs like Lee Sin and Xin Zhao, J4, like a lot more situational, but champs that can actually gank, champs that can actually make an impact with low econ and is good in draft, because if you pick, you know, Lee on 2, even if he isn't ahead, he always has the kick potential on the carries, right? So that is how I view it.
I would say it's like more effective, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think champs like Hecarim and stuff can work and it's fine. I think in some games where there's like Jinx ADC, you obviously need your ADC to get a bit more resources. Like, I would much rather have a strong Jinx, you know, than a strong Hecarim, but I don't think that carry junglers are useless.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to talk about runes. And I mean, so, okay, so this is how I see it, right? And I play, like, let's say... Okay, so let's say these champs, and let's just talk over runes, right? So people, the main things people hate, right, is people say Scorch is bad and they say Biscuit's Time Warp is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like a classic like win lane rune page.
Right.
Scorch is really under like people don't understand this rune. I feel like
100%.
So many people say this rune is bad. But on actually a lot of champions, Scorch is better than Gathering Storm. Like, for example, Seraph. If you go do damage tests on Seraph, you need the game to last more than 20 minutes for Gathering Storm to even slightly deal more damage.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And like,
People think this rune is like only good for first 10 minutes, but on a lot of champions, it deals more damage from minutes 1 to 19. And at 20 to 29, it's only dealing a little bit less.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And like, you agree, like, most games, like, with how Riot's like changing the game, and like just how with people getting like better at the game, right, and playing like faster and like punishing more, like first 20 minutes is like the most important part of the game, right? Like, do you agree with that or no? Like,
it depends on the draft, of
yeah.
course.
In general, though, like what the trend that we see
overall,
is like,
I would say, I mean, that's hard to say because just out in the open, that just depends on the draft, I feel like.
For sure.
But I don't think the question is which one of these are more useful. I think they're both useless. Like, in my opinion, they're both useless because
really,
this one, yes, because this one gets super strong late game, but it's useless because this one is better early. But then the damage this one does often is useless. Like, so what I was talking about with these champs. So Victor is a champ I play a lot, and I'm very flexible with my runes on Victor. If I'm playing Victor, like, you know, Lucian was meta, right? And Victor was quite decent to Lucian.
mm-hmm.
When I play this matchup, I would go like full aggro runes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of what I talked about, right? In terms of Syndra versus Victor, you can't do it in the right spots because you already outscale and you already get value from, like, you get value from trying to win lane. If the enemy isn't playing up to par, you will get value from the runes. So they are misunderstood. I completely agree with what Vega is saying here. They are misunderstood, and you can get value from them in the right scenario.
You have to, yeah.
Yes, I had to because I like scaling runes, because to me it's like, if I can win my lane with scaling, why would I go early game runes?
100%.
So I would try the Lucian matchup going scaling, but you couldn't win. You couldn't win to the same regard. So I went to the early game runes, and much better. I could actually win this matchup consistently now, and I think there are matchups like that are like this. What I don't like about your video, which some people pointed out too, is like, how do you picture Lux winning? Like, let's say she goes, like, I would assume if you want her to win lane, you'd assume something like this.
Yeah.
If I'm playing Victor, I don't see how I lose, considering that I also go this.
Well,
I don't see how I lose to Lux.
Yeah, you just be able to go even with Lux. Like, you just wouldn't be fucked, you know? Like, the runes he took made him so fucking, like...
I'm not sure what he means with even, because it doesn't really mean anything. So I'm not sure what he means with even, because it doesn't mean anything.
Like,
why do you think that though? Because I don't agree on that. Like, I agree with you that Scorch is overhated, and I agree that early game runes can change the matchups. Like I said, Lucian Victor. Don't.
Yeah, but you don't have to go even CS if you are. I mean, of course, if you can go even CS, it's great. But if you can cheat time and you can actually get ahead of him, going last chapter before him, and having maybe boots before him, then this is so much better. If it means that you have to lose 5 or 6, 7, 8 CS on it, it's worth it.
Think that Fudge's game state has anything to do with runes except for maybe Biscuits. Biscuits is the only thing that would change it, but go on.
Well,
just say your point.
Do you want to, like, we can open up, like, you can just open up, like, any random, like, Lux versus Victor video. Like, I'm pretty sure we can open up any random one. Like, in my video, maybe you can just go to, like, my video, right? I
mean, I cut you off, so just say what you were saying first.
You can just go to my video and just get, like, the timestamp ready. Like, we can look at, like, any game of, like, Lux versus Victor. It's, like, a pretty, like, even matchup. Like, Victor naturally doesn't have anything in his kit that can punish Lux that much. Like, with proper rune setups, like, Lux will be farming evenly with Victor every single game. Like, it's, if Lux takes these runes and Victor takes these runes, they'll be just even farming. Like, it's completely fine. Like, the matchup is, there's no problem with the matchup. And Lux just trolled her runes, and most importantly, she trolled her item start. Like, she has a fucking sapphire crystal. Like, that thing is, what the fuck, you know? Like, you need corrupting potion to trade in mid lane, you know?
Again, the goal of the Lux in this game is not to trade and to kill the victor. So I'm not sure what this is, but yeah.
No.
Like, you don't need it?
See, like this, I just disagree with.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't disagree that Lux beats Victor. Like,
It's
I'm
it's
for
50-50.
picking-
It's 50-50, right? Like they're both even farming. Like if they're both playing well, I think like there's no like clear winner. Like both sides can win, and like both sides are going to be like relatively even. Like if you play the
I
matchup
think
out
it's-
over like thousands of games, you know, it's going to be like pretty even.
If you play the matchup 1,000 times, right? Let's just say you play the matchup 1,000 times. What will happen, in my book, every single time, if both are good, let's just say Chovy versus Chovy, what will happen is that every single case, Victor gets push, he can push 3, make the wave bounce, and then you can maybe kill him with jungle support. Like, what will happen every single time is that Victor has push, if he plays it well and he positions himself well. So I'm not sure what he's trying to get at with this point, but we'll see.
I think it's pretty hard winning for Victor early levels, and that's why I don't agree with corruption potion.
Oh, we can
So
look at like any
Yes,
any
Armin,
video, right?
can you let
Like
me speak?
any Lux versus Victor video.
Yeah, but can you let me speak? Because
Oh,
I
you,
said
bro.
yes, we can.
Right.
We can, but let me say my point.
Okay.
Like, I think there is very few champions that can contest Victor in early levels before first recall. Maybe Syndra, but even that could be Victor winning, depending on how much Q Syndra hits, right? But I don't see how Mana Crystal makes her lose. Like, you're saying Corruption Potion.
Yeah.
But 3 potions is more HP than Corruption.
Yeah.
So-
She has no
the only thing-
no damage with Mana Crystal.
Yep. But the only thing would be Corruption Potion bleeds, right?
Yep.
And let's say Lux uses her E to proc that.
Yep.
We're gonna be talking like 20 damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like autos and like you know,
Well,
auto trades
mean,
like one
yes,
the
but
most
we
that's
both
that's the
agree-
most important thing about corrupting pot, right? Is that you can actually trade autos with the enemy mid laner back and forth. You know, you're even let's say like you imagine in your head Victor versus Lux level 1 and they both have corrupting.
I have to talk again, because like what you're giving up in this game, like this specific game that we talk about with C9, what you're giving up is that you're giving up last chapter, you're giving up I mean, let's say you do this, right? Giving up flash TP timer. Flash is pretty broken on this champ in this comp, I believe. I think it was Sensao. I think if you do this with Scorch, it's fine, but you don't need the Scorch. So you're giving up a lot of time where you will be ahead of him, and you are able to potentially win the 2v2 if you have the last chapter to. What did you have? I think boots. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But if you have first item 1 minute or 2 minutes before him, you're giving up a lot of time. So I think what he's saying has some sort of truth to it. I think what he means, instead of going even, I think you can contest him and you can actually fight the victor. I think that's what he's saying, right? From what I understand, he's not saying even. He means like you can actually contest the matchup and you can actually win the matchup. But again, I don't agree with this. I think you will always be able to have push on the victor side, 3 reset, and slow push 4-5 can maybe crash, depending on what you want to do, right? Doesn't really matter.
Pot, they both have Scorch and they both have like early game runes, right? It looks like a pretty even trade level 1. Victor will walk up, he'll try to press like Q auto, or he can start E and like max range E, right? And then Victor will throw max range E and Lux will throw max range E. It could work like that. Or Victor will walk up and Q auto and Lux will E auto and it'll be an even trade.
It will not be an even trade though, because you always have wave advantage on Victor's side with Q. Because if you level 1, you go E him, he will be in Q range, I believe, or almost, right? So if you go up and E him, you will still be able to win the trade. So it will not be an even trade. And your goal on Lux, it should rarely be to kill the enemy unless you're maybe playing versus some sort of assassin, right? And you can perma auto him. So in these mage matchups, your goal is not to kill him. Your goal shouldn't be to kill him, especially in this matchup for sure. Your goal should be to get to 6 and then lock him down with Q, E, and then he dies. If you want to be playing around the Lux, which I think you can, it's fine. But yeah, you cannot kill the Victor in the first 3 levels, and that I am sure of. You can trade with him, and you will maybe lose the trade a tiny bit, but you will definitely lose wave control. But if you want to trade with him, let's just say you want to trade with him and you play to actually, win trades and go even in trades, or go win the trades, then yes, you can maybe get a jungle gank in before 3rd wave crash. I think that can be doable. So if you want to play for the 2v2, or potentially have move bot lane, some bot lane or support moves up as well, then yes, it can have some truth to what he's saying. And you need to be critical about this, because what he's saying is that he wants him to trade so that we can play around mid lane, I think. But yeah, if you have bot lane push, ADC can potentially base and you roam mid, and because you traded with him and jungle maybe did 3 camps, he did this, run mid, then you can fight him. So I think that's what RJS is saying. I hope that's what he's saying, but I guess we will maybe figure out if he stops saying even perma.
It will be an even trade. Victor's gonna win the match.
Because again, he's just saying even trade, which doesn't mean anything. Well, if he wants to talk about this, he needs to at least pull this up and talk about what he actually means, because what he is saying right now means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
Slightly.
Yes,
Victor's gonna win the matchup. He's strong in lane. I agree. Victor will win the matchup. I agree. It's Victor favored slightly, but the matchup, Lux doesn't get fucked. That's just not what happens.
But I don't think Fudge is fucked because of the runes.
He is fucked because of the runes.
But why?
Let's watch the video. Let's watch.
But why?
What did he do wrong? I don't see him doing anything wrong in this lane.
You still don't let me talk.
Yeah, and this is really worrying for me. Challenger, professional mid laner, does not see the fact that Fudge is legitimately griefing lane. So that is really worrying for me, that this is how he sees it.
What did he do wrong? I don't see him doing anything wrong in this lane.
You still don't let me talk. He has more HP from Mana Crystal. He will not win trades because of the champion's difference. He can't just push the Victor, because Victor will be able to win trades still. So Victor will still get level 2 first and will still get recall off. So by trading more, I don't see how he forces Victor out of lane. I agree that the way I see Mana Crystal is, it's on a champ like Lux, it's not bad early, and then after your first recall, then it's pretty bad, because then you have refillable potion versus corruption potion.
What the fuck? My cat is laying in a bowl. I just want to show this. My cat is laying on a bowl for no reason at all. I don't know what the fuck just happened there. Anyways, we just move on.
On a champ like Lux, it's not bad early, and then after your first recall, then it's pretty bad, because then you have refillable potion versus corruption potion, which is not good. On his first base, he will have Mana Crystal, Amp Tome, right, and refill, whereas with corruption potion,
yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you can maybe necessarily go Mana Crystal. I think that is too greedy. I think you're giving up too much, but I think you can get away with the Lost Chapter brace, but if you saw how he played it, we will see soon. I hope that Vega will pull this up at least. Like worst case scenario, you go down like 4 or 5 CS until Lost Chapter, and then you just wave clear on repeat. So
You have Amtome, Corruption Potion. I can agree that's
Right.
better. I don't agree level 1 to 3 that Mana Crystal Corruption Potion is better, because I do not think that Lux will ever break Victor there. And then after that, it no longer matters, because at that point, Lux can play for recalls with every single ulti she has, right?
Yeah, Lux is OP like that
So,
with her ultis.
yes. So, like,
I agree.
I think that Mana Crystal start is overhyped, because, for example, champions like Zoe, let's say you do it on Zoe, because you theoretically can, but the issue is, like, your first recall is, like, pretty bad, because you now have refillable compared to Corruption. But I don't see how a Lux level 5 just walks up to Victor and trades with him like that.
It's not, you don't spawn in at level 5, you spawn in at level 1, and if you spawn in with 2 champions, they have corrupting pots against each other. Even like a Doran's ring, bro. Like if she just had a Doran's ring, like let's watch the lane together. Like I think like most of this lane, like most of the lane, like we saw we saw most of the lane. So let's see, like what do you want him? I want you to tell me, like, what do you want him to do differently? Because I didn't see like any egregious mistakes or anything from the Lux's side to make her.
Yeah, and again, super worrying that he doesn't understand. Like this, it's such a big mistake. It's 2 extremely huge mistakes that he doesn't understand. As a challenger mid laner, that is like professional as well. Professional challenger mid laner doesn't understand this is extremely worrying to me.
Lose the lane other than her runes and her item choice.
I mean, all I want from Lux is to farm, use spells to farm, and get pushed in.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Use spells to.
And that's how it should be, right? He wants Last Chapter. He's going Mana Crystal. Just get pushed in. Maybe lose like 3-4 CS. Lose a tiny bit of HP because you have 3 potions, so it's okay. But you never trade unless you're trading to get like 3 minions or whatever, right? So you're never gonna trade in this lane unless it's absolutely necessary. Of course you're never gonna trade. You're sitting on a Mana Crystal versus full early game runes. Of course you should never trade, and this is what he does wrong.
Farm and
RJS does not understand this, so again, super worrying.
Okay.
That's what I want. But
sure.
Obviously, if he's gonna go Comet, Scorch, Absolute Focus, then I'm gonna be viewing this from the point of trying to beat the Victor.
Okay, so she's just trying to farm. You want her to just like never trade with the Victor, right?
Yes, because like I said,
okay.
Like maybe I'm wrong with the matchup, but my idea of the matchup is that level 1 to 3, Lux does not beat Victor unless the Victor is completely griefing, because even if Victor slightly loses trade, he should still get level 2 first, and overall end up with minion advantage and get push and choose to base.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And if that's gonna happen regardless of runes, I don't see why she should go for early game runes, because after that, once you get 6, you're just pushing for bases.
Because I
think it's very Lux specific.
It'll be more even, bro. Like she'll have more CS. Like the trade. I think you're.
So he's saying the same thing again with it being even, but again the point is that you don't have to go even. So again, it doesn't mean anything what he's saying. So
misunderstanding the matchup a little bit. I agree. It's like definitely slightly Victor favored, but Lux with like early game runes, she actually like trades pretty strong. Like E auto can trade back against Victor pretty strongly, and like she can outrange him with like max range E poke. Like
that is true. She can outrange him, but again, it doesn't mean anything, because like after you don't have E anymore, the E is sitting on how long of a cooldown? The E cooldown is what's like 7-8 seconds, I think. Okay, 10 seconds. So after you don't have E anymore, you can't play lane unless you want to walk up and auto trade with him, which you will never win. So it doesn't mean anything.
pretty fucking good, honestly. I
And
think
you think that the trade is so disadvantageous just because she doesn't have Scorch?
doesn't have Scorch, doesn't have Ab Focus, doesn't have Cookies, doesn't have Corrupting
Cookies
Pod.
doesn't
It's
do anything with
it's a
what you're
combination
saying
of
there,
all. Well, Cookies just allows her to spam more spells. Yeah, she has more access to mana, so she can actually fight and use her spells. You
Yeah,
know,
but you're saying that E with passive auto is just going to make Victor not be able to trade with her.
not
I'm just saying that
no
Biscuits doesn't
not
change that.
not be able to trade with her. It's just an even. It's just like a relatively even trade. They're just playing mid lane. They're just trading damage back and forth. Like they're both trying to create an advantage. You know, they're trying to trade damage on each other to create an advantage and see who can win out on these trades. Like that's just how mid lane works. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I know. But don't
Yeah.
you think it's more realistic that Victor
Yeah.
lands?
And this is a
Mid-lane.
problem to me. He's saying that his mindset towards mid lane is so one dimensional. The only thing you can do is you can get prio, and then you can do stuff, is basically what he's saying, right? You have to fight for prio, and you have to have prio because then you can do X, Y, or Z, which is really extremely one dimensional. So, and it's also not true. What are you saying here, Koink? You're saying, I'm pretty sure he means the matchup is closer. He wants to play the games in Org manner. The idea of playing this rune set and giving up all pressure early is pretty hard to wrap your head around as a competitive mid laner because of how heavily prio is valued. Yeah, I can understand that, right? But again, it doesn't mean anything in this matchup. And we're talking about the specific matchup and how runes will make a difference. If you go full fighting runes, you still will not get prio in this matchup.
Works, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know. But don't
Yeah.
you think it's more realistic that Victor lands his poke on Lux than Lux landing it on Victor?
Luxie is pretty guaranteed. Like Victor E and Lux E are like both the same kind of spell in my head. Like you agree, right? They're both like kind of
Yeah, they're pretty
unmissable, like long range poke. Like
I'd say Victor's a bit easier though to hit.
Yeah, both are like similar. Lux is slightly harder to hit probably. Victor E is more guaranteed, but it's gonna be relatively even trading back and forth if she had actual like any sort of runes to help her out. You know. It's gonna be
So
it's
start
gonna
off
be
lane.
pretty
What do you
even.
want him to do? You want him
Who?
like here when Lux. Like let's see if we can get a good free stream. Right, like here, like before this, I'm assuming Lux E'd or something. It looks like, right? I don't know, but let's say they're both posturing normal, right? Like Victor standing on side here, Lux standing here. You want her to E and then walk up with passive, right, or what?
If she has a good rune setup, or if she
Yes, of course. We're watching this from good rune setup because obviously
Okay.
with this, I completely agree. She cannot trade like how you want it with this setup and these runes because that's pointless.
right. So
I just don't think that she will start winning the lane early game because of those runes. But
right.
from your standpoint, imagining she has corruption, biscuit, basically matching his runes, but with Comet instead of Airy, probably, right?
Right. So
How
this
do you think she
this
should
is
play?
what's gonna happen. So both mid laners are gonna walk up with their wave, right? Before level before the waves
They're
meet,
gonna walk up
and
here.
they're both gonna walk up and start autoing the minions. And so
Lux will probably
Victor
land E before Victor can do anything, right? Because
so Victor will
it's range diff.
yeah, Victor will either start E and be like, okay, like Luxus probably has E and I'm outrange, so I'm just gonna trade E for E, and then just like hit the minions, right, back and forth, and maybe one side hits more minions and one side gets pushed. Like both sides could potentially get pushed in that scenario, or Victor, or they're both gonna walk up with their waves, and then they're gonna start autoing minions, and Victor's gonna be looking for a Q. To which Lux throws an E on top of the Victor when he's walking up to throw Q, and then she's gonna throw E, auto, and then walk back. And then Victor is gonna walk back as well, because he can't walk forward right into the minions. Like so
Of course,
then
of course.
so it's just like a relatively even trade. Like Lux took a pretty good trade, and then they're gonna keep autoing the minions. And then Victor E, I think it comes up a little bit. Victor Q, I mean, comes up a little bit faster. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be like
1 second.
1 second where there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect. So they're going to be autoing minions, back and forth. And then Victor's going to walk up again, right, for a Q. He's going to try again for a Q. Lux has to respect for like 1 second, and then if she respects this 1 second window where Victor has Q, she's going to walk up to him, she's gonna walk up and then E auto him again. It's like a even trade again, you know. So that's how I envision the lane playing out. It's like they're trading and they're fighting over like every CS, every minuscule like.
Okay, so basically what he wants is he wants the Lux to win the matchup, right? So he's trying to explain how Lux can win the matchup if she has the same early game runes as Jujupon. I think that's how you say it, right? Yeah. By the way, I just want to mention that the way that the Victor plays this matchup is pretty good. So for the people that are like wanting to watch that, I think the way that Victor plays the lane is really good. He punishes the fact that Fudge is misplaying, so it's really good from him. But yeah, he's trying to explain how Lux can win the matchup and how Lux can go even and how they can, like how she can actually fight the matchup, right? And she can go even in CS, so contesting. That's basically what he means. When he says even, he means contesting the minion wave and trying to go even. But what I'm saying is that it is not possible. It is not possible for Lux to get prio in this matchup because of the way that, like when she doesn't have E anymore, Victor's just out to win. And like worst case scenario for him, she goes E on him and he Qs the minion and then he shields the entire E damage, plus he's getting damage on the wave. And what Victor should be doing, level 1, is that he should obviously not be trying to trade in the minion wave. He should be trading from this side or this side and make sure that the Lux E hits him here and not fucking in the wave. Because that way, sure, Lux can maybe get prio, right? But that shouldn't happen.
Every time their spells are up, they're going to be trading. They're going to be trying to win the lane. So, like, this lane position is already fucked for Lux because she can't get into a good lane position with these runes. To get in a good lane position, you need to be on your wave right as the waves connect, and you need to be starting to trade damage back and forth, like, to get lane control. That's how mid lane works. Like, from this position,
Again, extremely one-dimensional mindset in terms of you have to win and you have to trade to win and you have to have prio. It is just not true, because if you play around the fact that the mid laner has prio and mid lane can fuck, and I'm not saying fuck, I'm saying fuck, fuck of war, on the other lanes, it's fine, because eventually your Lux is going to hit 6 and you can just Q into blasting the Victor, right? Because you have the range on him. When you get 6, you can kill him from extremely long range, right? It's the same with Seraph, it's the same with 6 in some way, it's the same with Lux. They do the same thing. Eventually, you can't touch them. And that is also the truth in this game. None of these players can realistically touch the Lux. Of course, there is the Lee kick that can do stuff to him, but the rest of the team comp cannot touch the Lux. And if Lux has good positioning, the Lee should also realistically not be able to touch him.
She already lost lane, because even if she had like the proper start, like people do this all the time, like newbie players, they'll be playing like a strong champion level 1, and even if I'm playing mid lane and I have a weaker champion level 1, they'll just give up control of the wave and they'll just like, back off, and I'll be like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, walk up to me and try to fight me at least, right? Like, why aren't you trying to fight me? You win, you're stronger than me. And they'll just completely give up.
Yeah, again, there is some truth to this. He just has no clue of how to explain it, because he's talking about this specific matchup as in Lux can do this if she has the right rune setup, she has Doran's ring. But again, it's just not true. It's not possible. So there is some truth to what he's saying. He's just extremely bad at explaining what he actually means. But again, this specific matchup, it's just flat out wrong. In my opinion, in how I see the matchup being played out for both sides. But there is some truth to what he's saying. It is very dependent on the matchup, and you don't always, again, his one-dimensional thought process is that you have to fight to win and you have to try to win and you have to get prio, which is just not true. There are certain matchups where you don't have to get prio and you shouldn't try to get prio, because eventually, if you just hit the 9-10 CS number on Lux, she'll blow up all of them. Of course, then you can talk about how this draft is bad and all that, because, I mean, this champ doesn't really do much. Not this champ, but like they are not building around the Lux in the way that they should. But that doesn't mean anything. We just go back to the matchup being that his one-dimensional thought process isn't correct, and what he's saying about this matchup is also not correct.
Lane control, and they won't be trading damage onto me, and then I'll get level 2 first. I'll be winning the matchup. Like, that's how you win mid lane. You need to push, you need to trade damage level 1 with your range, because it's probably going to be range versus range mid, and then you're going to get control of the lane that way.
Lucian versus Victor, I agree. Yes, I don't agree.
Same concept, bro. It's every single mid lane matchup. Like,
not true at all. It is not every single mid lane matchup at all. And Vega is saying the same thing about Lucian versus what was it, Victor, right? Where you can win if you have this aggressive setup, and you will outscale eventually anyways, so why wouldn't you try to win the matchup? So it's not true. You don't have to fight, and you don't have to have this one-dimensional thought process about how mid lane works.
It's going to be relatively even trades back and forth level 1 and 2. Like, Lux is going to be trading well versus Victor. We can open up every other VOD. Like,
I'm agreeing with you. I said, yes, I think that she will poke him.
Yeah.
But I think that he will get push and crash and then just get to base. Because I think she has 2 long cooldowns, and assuming he's standing on the side of the wave, he's probably going to get bombed.
Yeah, and again, you can trade, and you can do this corruption setup where you just try to kill him, or dodging setup where you try to kill him, but it will not do anything, because Victor can control the wave, and Victor can take the base when he wants to take the base. So your damage will not do anything unless, as I said before, and I explained before, if you have bot lane push, and bot lane can move up, and you trading on him will allow to take it 3v2 if he calls for his jungler, right? Because he needs to push the wave and he's low. He calls for his jungler, and you have the 3v2 move on him, and you can kill them that way. If you can take if you have the winning 2v2 as well, and you see enemy top laner and bot lane, then you can also take the 2v2 if you are sure you win it. And if that is the purpose of the rune setup, why the fuck is it so bright? One sec. If that is the purpose of the rune setup, then it's fine. But the purpose of the rune setup in this game is not to trade and not to win, because you have losing 2v2. Yeah, so there is something that you guys need to remember, which is critical thinking. What is it that you want to try and achieve in the game and with the draft? And if you don't use critical thinking and you just autopilot every time, you're not going to be a better player, you're not going to be a better team.
By Luxie. 2 long cooldowns, and assuming he's standing on the side of the wave, he's probably going to get bombed by Luxie, right? But he will have Q, he will shield it, he will auto Q the minions, he will still get push, and with that push he can just base. So I don't see how the damage that Lux deals on him is worth losing minions or losing scaling runes.
It won't be
It doesn't turn into anything.
It won't be free push. If Lux is trading and Lux has good runes, it won't be like free push into like stack wave and free recall timing. The waves will be like relatively even, because Lux trades are pretty good.
Wow.
Like they'll be pretty even trades. Like it's
no, but I'm not talking about the trades. I'm talking about the waves. Because to me, making this Victor, let's say, like if he base after 3rd or 4th wave, right? Like even if, let's say, he lost all his potions, if he's in base, if he got to crash the wave, to me, that damage is useless unless the plan is to gank. But, I mean, there's a Lee Sin, right? Like, 2v2, Lee Sin, Victor shouldn't be that weak, no?
It is useful damage, because when you're trading damage, you're trying to get the enemy into positions where they're threatened by a gank, you know? They're, like, this Victor is playing...
But he has potions, right?
Well, of course he has, yeah. But that's why you're trading. Like, that's just the push and pull of mid lane. You're trading damage so that the Victor doesn't feel safe to just walk up to this fucking Lux and just like just ego her to death, you know? Like that's just what he did this game, because Lux has no runes. But if Lux had runes, Victor would play more respectfully. There'd be in a more even condition. Lux would be like, even if we both agree Victor will probably have a slight advantage in the lane, like it will be more even. Victor will be pressured because he'll be like, okay, I'm taking damage back and forth.
I think he's just going to be saying the same thing over and over again because he's just repeating himself, trying to get his point across. Which, again, I already talked about it, so there's no point in saying it again.
I'm not able to just fully focus on harassing this Lux completely off every CS, and he'll be missing more CS, like, because that's just how it works, right? You're just going to be like pressured by the enemy poking back at you, and you're going to be missing CS, you're going to be pressured by ganks, and you're just going to have a more even lane state and a more playable game for the Lux with these runes. Like, you're just going to be able to play the game. Everyone will be able to play the game more effectively. You're going to be able to fight mid 2v2 with your Jarvan. Like, Blabber's really strong in this game. It's just Jarvan. Like,
it's not true as well, right? Sure, you can maybe fight, but again, it's not the point of the rune setup, and it's not the point of what Lux wants to achieve in this game. So it is not true what he's saying. But yes, if you have this like early game setup and early game runes with fucking cookies and all that, then yes, you can trade back, and yes, you can make him lower HP, but it is not worth more than getting first item spike and lost chapter spike and boot spike, like all the stuff you can use futures on. Like all the big spikes that will put him eventually ahead of the Victor. Because if he has Lost Chapter, he would have like 155 gold, I think it is, which is, roughly 2-3 waves. So he's cheating the natural way that the lane goes. And yes, it has nothing to do with the fact that he's trading bad and all that. It's just, how do you want to play the game? Right? It's just, how do you want to play the game? What makes it better for you? Because cookies are good in the right spot, and Scorch is good in the right spot, but not in this spot, right? Which is what Vega is saying. He's saying that it doesn't make a difference if you go either one, or if you go the early game rune set, because you're still not gonna achieve a different wave state. You're still going to have the push into you, and yes, you will deal maybe 200 damage more to him. But Victor decides when to base, so you're not doing anything with the rune setup. You're not creating a different setup or a different lane state, because Victor cannot fuck up this lane if he plays correctly, because his E is basically unmissable and his Q is click. Like you cannot, it's not a skill shot, right? So you can't fuck it up. Where in Syndra matchup, you can miss the Q, you can miss the stun, and then it will make a difference. But that is almost impossible on Victor if he is human being. So that is the point that Vega is trying to get across, and it is for sure the truth as well. But I understand his point being that you can trade with him, and you can fight him, and you can create a situation where you can gank. But again, what is it that you want to do in the game?
Like, Jarvan can, if imagine. Okay, what are the wards actually? Can you lower that?
Yeah, wards makes no difference here.
So Victor warded that red buff, red side. So like imagine Jarvan goes like red, blue, Gromp, and then Lux is even trading with mid lane. You know what this Victor is gonna do, bro? He's gonna be he's scared for his life, man. Like he's just gonna get ganked by Jarvan. If he.
That is what I just said, right? With the free camp into mid lane, which can be true if you don't lose the 2v2. And if Victor is good, he's hugging the right side, level 3, right? If Victor is good, he's hugging the right side, which means, let's say J4 starts red, they see him, he does this. Victor's hugging this side, J4, or not J4, but Sin is maybe doing red Raptor Golems, running straight mid, because he needs to push in, and he's hugging the right side, and because you lose the 2v2, you shouldn't take it, and it makes no difference if you have the other runes.
Plays as disrespectfully as he is playing. Like, if Lux is actually trading damage onto him, he's gonna have to back off and respect, like, okay, this Jarvan can flank around and come at me from this angle, and he can fuck my game completely. Like, that's just how the game works.
That's not how the game works. No, it's not how the game works at all. It's just, what is it that you want to do? If you want to play aggressive in mid lane and you want to play for the 2v2, then you can do this rune setup and it can work, right? Because you can actually trade with him and you don't give up lane. If your goal is to gank mid lane level 3 on the wave state that you predict will most likely happen, then it can work. But what is it that you want to do in the game? That's what you have to ask yourself. If you have mid push, or not mid push, but you get the same matchup, support can roam because they're prio, mid lane can come in 3v2. Yes, then the damage that you get can make a difference, but it will not in this game with the draft because you just can't win the 2v2, and bot lane you don't really have the push. You have the push actually, but they can fight over it. And if you roam up, Inspired could cut you off in bot river. So it depends on what you want to do, and this is something you need to figure out for yourself in terms of what is it that you want to do in the game. And if you don't do that, you're gonna find yourself in a rough time. So again, critical thinking, use it.
And if Victor gets ganked, he's gonna get ganked. I'm saying is I don't think
Jarvan.
50 Yes, I don't think 50 HP difference is gonna be the reason why he has to flash or if he dies.
It does, because when this Jarvan, you know why he's scared. You know what?
It does not. It does not at all. Like him having 200 less HP makes no difference. The wave will still be pushed in. So
I think 50 HP difference is gonna be the reason why he has to flash or if he dies.
It does, because when this Jarvan, you know why he's scared. You know why he can't gank this lane at all is because his Lux is fucking worthless. His Lux literally offers absolutely nothing to him in this gank. This Lux has no damage.
How does Corruption Potion change that? That's my point.
Because it's a closer. The lane state is closer. They're taking trades, and Lux is actually dealing a good amount of damage earlier on in the game. Where if you can actually get a decent 2v2 out, like let's say they're trading back and forth. Lux has good runes, the trades are going relatively even, and this Jarvan's like, okay, well, this Victor's still playing disrespectfully, I'm gonna come gank him. Like, if Lee Sin's in here, I think we can win 2v2 because my Lux isn't a literal absolute useless dog with these items, and she actually is trading damage, is useful, has corrupting pop burn, like, she's just useful in a fight, 2v2. Like, this Victor will get fucked, you know, if he's playing disrespectfully, you know?
I mean, I know what you're saying. I agree on half of it. I don't agree on the other.
No, but you're saying, but the only thing that matters is Lux, E, slow, and Q, CC. No, that is not true at all. Love letter, not true at all. Because if you can trade with him and you can get him 200 HP lower in a 2v2 that is really close, right? Let's say the 2v2 we have here. If the 2v2 is extremely close in solo queue, maybe it could make a difference and maybe you could kill him, but in a competitive setting where Victor knows what he's doing with the wave, you have the wave advantage in the 2v2 and you also theoretically have the winning 2v2. So makes no difference here. If you have the corruption potion or the D-ring or the early game runes or whatever, makes no difference at all.
Like, but it's 6:15 a.m. But I will keep talking, but we should stop spending so much time.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like we're making any progress. Like, all I'm saying is I don't think, like, if I play both sides of the matchup, I think the Lux will be here. I think this guy, yes, with the runes you're saying, probably this HP, but he will still have this slow push, and he won't let Lux break it, and he will get to recall unless Jarvan ganks. And if Jarvan ganks to stop it, I don't think the runes will matter.
I just disagree, bro. It'll be a lot more even. It'll be very.
You think this waves won't be like this? You think that they hit level 2 same time?
It'll however the trades go, like that's just the nature of playing League of Legends, and that's the nature of mid lane and trading spells. Like however the lane state is, it will be a lot closer of a lane state. There's no way, there's no universe where Victor's gonna have this big of a stacked wave.
Okay. Now I understand what he means for sure. He means that if you have this setup that he's talking about, you are able to guarantee that this slow push does not happen. You're able to guarantee that the slow push is not happening, and then you can maybe take the 2v2, which is true. I understand what he means with that. I understand what he means by that, but again, it's not true because you should still be able to have this slow push.
Lux?
Yes, I
Like,
know.
with proper rune?
But yeah, you are able to do more, is what he's saying.
I'm not saying
I think also, if I am the victor here, because you have the winning matchup, again, should not be taking cookies, you should be taking futures for sure, because cookies will not make a difference in the matchup. Still able to do the exact same situation that you had before with slow push, so would never take cookies, but this is just something that pro players do not think about, I guess. Like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, so definitely should not take cookies, should take futures.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, to me, that's not worth it if Victor still ends up basing. If you can convince me that Lux, with the runes you're saying, can keep Victor in lane, stop him from basing, then yes, of course, then it's worth it. My point is just that...
Yeah, okay. And now Vega is saying that if you can stop this slow push into Victor base, then it's good, right? And it's worth it. Which makes sense, right? If you can stop the slow push and you can delete the wave, it's the same in like Caitlyn versus 6 matchups. If you can keep the Caitlyn in lane, or not in lane, but you can keep Caitlyn from getting a lead in lane, then you are winning. So, yes.
If he still ends up basing, which I think he will...
I agree with what RJS is saying here. He's just, again, super bad at explaining.
Then I don't see why it's worth it.
Because you're gonna have better tempo on the map if you have a more even lane state. Like, Victor won't just be able to freely push his lane. Like, there's more merit than just... I agree, Victor will probably be able to just get his base off anyway, right? And he'll just be completely fine. Like, and the only difference is Lux will have a more even lane state. Lux will be able to get more CS, right? She'll be trading more damage back onto Victor. It doesn't... he'll...
Okay, what he's saying now is that if you listen here...
probably be able to just get his more... There's more merit than just... I agree, Victor will probably be able to just get his base off anyway, right? And he'll just be completely fine. Like, and the only difference is Lux will have a more even lane state. Lux will be able to get more CS, right? She'll be trading more
okay, so
damage back onto Victor. It doesn't... he'll recall. It doesn't really matter. Whatever. Like 2v2.
So what he's saying is that I think what he's saying, again, super bad at explaining, is that if you have the setup, the wave is not as big and Victor does not have as much move time or roam time or reset timer, hence the bounce back that was happening in the game, which again I do not agree with. So let's see.
Gank, like, it doesn't really matter. The wave will be more even. She'll be able to pick up more CS because she's actually able to walk up for CS and actually trade with him.
I don't agree on that, by the way. Like, if you look at, like, you say this a lot, like the CSing thing, but like, for example, look here, right? Like, now we're on the first wave, right?
Okay.
And he literally loses minions because he chooses to. Like, the camera doesn't show this, but he just fails. Yes, he fails last hit, and now watch what he does. Look, minion aggro, right? He has no reason to walk up. Look what he does now. He walks up and trades.
This is what I talked about as well, right? Like, this is what I talked about as well. And I'm so happy that like Vega is pointing this out, and of course he will, because Vega is smart about the game. Like, this is the mistake that he's making. That basically, like, consistently, he does it twice actually. That fucks the entire lane. And again, RJS is not talking about this in this video, so his video is just poo-poo.
He would lose no minions, right? Like, this is just a bad trade.
Because she's getting a wave stacked on him. She can't play the game.
It's not true at all.
Just a bad trade.
Because she's getting a wave stacked on him. She can't play the game.
You don't have to play the game in this matchup. Let the wave come in. Let him reset or roam. Side lanes respect. And then on wave 5, which will be the bounce back, wave 4 here, wave 5 here, you call for help on Lux, she pushes in, she gets a better base. So, it's not true. Like, it doesn't mean anything that the wave is slow pushing. You're not supposed to have prio. You're not in the need to have prio.
You will be fine with the wave stacked. It's like playing Malzahar versus LeBlanc early game. It's the same thing.
That's
Okay, I think
Like, this is just a bad
Vega
trade.
is legit saying it right here.
because she's getting a wave stack on him. She can't play the game.
But she will be fine with the wave stacked. It's like playing Malzahar versus LeBlanc. Early game. It's the same thing.
That's just not how the game works. Like
That is so wrong what he's saying though. That is so wrong. He's saying that's just not how the game works, but that is how the game works. You can't trade and fight in every matchup. I think that's what he's saying, that you can if you have these early game runes. So it is extremely, extremely wrong and extremely one-dimensional. So it is just really, really wrong.
It's the same
But I mean, yeah,
thing.
that's just not how the game works. Like
yeah, like this comment is, yeah, sad. I hope that Vega says something about that, because that is how the game works. Like, you cannot always fight and you cannot always win the matchup. There are certain matchups that you can't get prio in. Of course, that's why they are called counter matchups.
this is not
But why is it?
this is not fine. Victor will when you have this much pressure and this much control over your mid lane, no one on your team can play, man. Like this is
This is wrong. This is wrong. It doesn't mean anything if, like, yes, his team can play. Where will Victor roam? He will roam top to the Akali with Shroud? No, nothing will happen. He will roam bot? No, because Blabber should be covering bot lane. So it's not true. It doesn't mean anything for his entire team if Victor has prio or not.
fucked.
Yes, if
this is
they're
fucked
gonna,
for
if
everyone.
they're
Like
gonna get invaded, yes.
Like, you cannot just say it will be fucked and stuff like that. It's not true. If it is, maybe let's say it is LeBlanc instead, I think that's fine. Let's say it's LeBlanc instead of Victor, then yes, they can maybe roam bot lane and they can try to form bot lane, and that could potentially work. But Victor cannot do anything.
Yes.
it doesn't it doesn't have to be an instant payoff. Like I think you really hyper focus on like instant payoff, like instant recall, like what are we getting in these jungle camps. It's League of Legends is like a constant battle for like control and tempo. Like Victor right now is just getting free control, free tempo. Like his team is just able to map out the game better and have more control over the game. He has more autonomy.
This doesn't mean anything. Again, it doesn't mean anything. What he's saying doesn't mean anything. You can have control, yes, and you can map out the map or whatever he's saying, right? But this guy will not do anything with this. He will slow push the wave on 3, and if you're not 1 HP, you can't get dived, and the same thing will happen. 4, you have prio, or you have slow push, and 5, you crash, you get better base. So again, it doesn't mean anything.
Like, have more control over the game. He has more autonomy, like, over his recall timings, and he'll be faster and stronger in every single situation. And his team, this Lux's team, can barely do anything to help her. Like, that's just how the game works. It's not like, oh my god, it's not like like we stacked a wave and we're gonna dive this Lux. And by the way, this Lux is diveable. By the way, like with the way he played.
Yes, Lux is diveable. I agree with that, but again, he should not be if he plays correctly. He's made 2 gigantic lane mistakes. Like, he's made 2 extremely, extremely big lane mistakes that he hasn't pointed out. Vega said the first one, but the second one he didn't. But I think he's just talking about this specific case here.
Obviously, you can say he trolled his lane, but I think this lane state will happen every single time that you play this matchup with these runes. Like, if your Victor's a good player, like Jojo, the literal best mid laner in North America, if your mid laner is like this lane state will happen every single time. Like, pretty much. Like, Lux will be down 10 CS if she's taking these runes, and she'll have a fucked wave. Victor will have.
You could play versus Chovy. You still should not be 10 CS down at this point. Like, if you play correctly yourself and you only walk up for the minions you have to take and you trade there, you should still not be 10 CS down versus Joey, versus Veigar, versus the best mid laner you could possibly think of. I mean, it would be Joey, right? Then you should still not be 10 CS down. This is only because Fudge is making huge mistakes. Nothing to do with how... I mean, it has something to do with how Victor plays as well, of course, because he is punishing the mistake. So you can see it happening. But yeah.
have complete
This is Fudge is doing himself, not Jojo.
control.
I mean, yes, also Jojo, because he's punishing the mistake, but you get what I'm saying. It is more so Fudge giving the opportunity and Jojo punishing the mistake. So
Over the game. Like, that's just how the game works. That's how this matchup will go if you run these runes.
Do you play Lux?
I
I would be down to go 1v1.
Dude, Lux is one of my favorites, yeah.
Okay, I'm coming on NA.
Let's go, bro. I think
Okay.
it'll be more even.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
About it. If
1v1?
Lux can contest that, if you can stop Victor from recalling, then I'm fine with that. Because like I said at the start about Victor versus Lucian, when I'm playing Victor versus Lucian, I go full early game runes because I can actually stop the Lucian from doing what Victor is doing to Lux in his game. Right? But I don't see the point in changing my runes if Victor will still have push and still have first move. So I just want to 1v1 to see if Lux is actually able to push Victor with these runes.
she's not. I'm not saying she is. I'm
then-
saying it'll be more even.
But this is okay. Fair enough.
I think you really tunnel on like recall timing.
Yes,
and
we already said this.
yeah. Well, I don't think you understood. Like, do you agree? Like, it's
No, I understand.
it's when you have that much control over mid lane and there's no trading going on, there's no possible trading back with the Lux. Like, you're just gonna have more control, more time, more pressure. You're just gonna be able to do more in the game. Like, do you agree or not? Like,
I mean, obviously, if you have
of course,
more damage dealt, you could maybe do more. But it's like, yeah, you could maybe do more. In the end, it's a Lux level 4. I think there's only so much you can do. If the Victor has push, he's gonna have first move anyways. You're talking about tempo. If he recalls first, he's gonna have tempo anyways.
He's gonna have tempo, but it's a lot more even. Like, if you think about it, if try to picture maybe like a bar, right? Like a bar going from 0 to 100 of tempo on the game, right? If you're
Right.
taking these runes as Lux, your bar as Victor, your tempo bar is like maxed out, right? If in this matchup, your tempo bar is like at 100%, and this Victor can do whatever the fuck he wants, whenever the fuck he wants. His team can do whatever they want, whenever the fuck they want. They can go anywhere. He can recall whenever he wants. He can ward whenever he wants. He can go invade 2v2 whenever he wants. But when you're trading back damage, like Lux isn't even a good pick. Like Lux is probably like a pretty dog shit champion on IMO. Like, he will not have pressure, and that's like I don't think she's that good.
I mean, I agree with what he's saying, but he is so bad at explaining. Because he is correct that Victor can do whatever he wants until a certain point when Lux is 6, right? So, Lux, but he can do that anyways. It's just he will have a little bit less HP, which again will not make a difference. So, I agree with what he's saying. He's just extremely bad at explaining.
It will be more even. Like, the tempo bar when she's trading back and forth damage with Victor, the tempo bar would, instead of being 100-0 in Victor's favor and him just doing wherever the fuck he wants on the map, it'll be like, I don't know, like 60% filled. Like, maybe he can't do this anymore. Maybe he can't deny this minion anymore. Maybe he can't go ward here. Maybe he's like feeling a little too scared because he got a little bit chunked out. He got some damage traded back on him, and there's actually threat. There's actual pushback from the Lux to.
Yeah, and there is no threat. Like, the threat doesn't change or become bigger because she's sitting on a little bit more damage, right? It doesn't change.
For him.
The bar that he's talking about is still 100 because you can still make the move. You just will have a little bit less HP, and you can play the 2v2. So again, it depends on what you want to do.
For him to be not able to do what he wants, or that's just how the game works.
I mean, guys, you cannot be memeing him because he has some points that he's making that are not bad. So Like, you cannot be memeing him. He's just extremely bad at what he's like. He's extremely bad at explaining, but you cannot like just perma shit on him because he has some points that are valid and true. He's just so bad at explaining it. It sounds like he's legit 0 IQ. So you cannot be memeing him or saying he's like noob or bad or whatever, because he has some points that are correct and are valid and can be used. He's just so bad at explaining it that it sounds like he's so noob.
You know?
What's your IGN?
RJS D&D gun. D&D and then God.
A bit. We can tell what's gonna happen. Better though, 'cause
All good. Let's
don't
light
think
it
it'll
up.
matter though, 'cause we can see the logic. We can tell what's gonna happen. Anyways, so I'm gonna stop screen sharing because it makes me lag a bit.
Sounds good. Oh, bro, have you been taking more I've been taking like heal and like ghost and shit like that in mid lane because of TP.
I've tried some exhaust versus Yasudana. I've tried some ghost on like Casio and stuff.
Yeah,
Not bad.
it feels great. Like I'll take heal this game. I don't know if you mind. I can take TP too.
You can't take
Up to you,
heal.
though.
That's kind of a.
I mean, if you use the heal, I think you can push me in, yeah. So I think you should just go TP.
TP.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't take heal. That's bullshit. You
Yeah, I think
cannot take heal.
with heal, like
Would ruin the
potentially I
entire
could
way
even,
that
like,
you.
win,
If
but-
you have heal,
Yeah.
it's different, right? If you have heal, then it definitely makes sense what he's saying, because if you have heal and you have the like, early game runes, the 2v2 should be hard winning. So, yeah, I can agree with that for sure. But
We'll just
course, I think so too.
we'll just
it
do
doesn't
TP,
explain
like,
how it
yeah.
think
We'll just see
Flux
how it works. Yeah.
we can talk about if you should have TP or if you should have like heal or you should have barrier on the champ, and if it has more value, which I can agree with. It definitely should have, because like if you have heal, like this whole situation changes. So yeah.
Lux with heal with like a Sinsao can be pretty good too.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah. Like you can have a lot of pressure, right? Like you can actually like fight back against the victor with like a 2v2 with like heal. Like Lux isn't that weak early. Like you don't have to completely sack your early game. Like you.
And I can for sure agree with we agree with what he's saying. If you have heal and you have like early game runes, you can for sure beat him. No problem, because the 2v2 you win, so the less HP he has, the better. But again, it kind of fucks the entire concept of how like what they've been talking about is completely irrelevant if he takes heal.
You don't have to give Victor 100% control of the game. Like you can fight back. It can be like a 60-40, you know.
And you're saying, but he's talking about LCS and not solo queue. It's the same concept. If you're playing LCS, you can still take heal. You have ult and you can choose your base on the champ. So
And you can actually.
yeah, again, depends on what the plan is. If you want to play around mid lane, you want to play around the 2v2 or the 3v2 with bot lane push or top lane potentially being like Camille or whatever, then you can do this and it works. But that is not. I mean, the point he's trying to get across is that you can actually win the matchup, right? Which is true if you have heal and whatever, and you can take heal in LCS. For sure, you can take that. If you play correctly around your bases and the fact that you don't have TP with slow pushes, so that you don't like lose an entire wave, you can do it. It's just, what is it that you want to do in the game? And this is the third time I said it, so I'm not gonna say it again.
Actually, like, trade.
I think if the victor lets you e-poke and
Okay, so this game he has full early game runes, right? He has cookies, he has time warp, he has absolute focus, he has scorch. So full early game runes, and he thinks you can have prio now. I think.
if the victor lets
I'm not
you
sure if he
e-poke
thinks you can.
and the E also hits the minions, you can get push. Then you also get passive procs on minions, then you probably have like good chance of pushing.
By the way, do you think just curious, if Lux would you recommend if the matchup was reversed, like let's say if Fudge was playing Victor and Jojo Piano was playing Lux, would you recommend Fudge to go futures market and like scaling setup, or would you recommend him to go the regular like Victor runes?
Okay, so this is what I just explained with futures markets and you being on the winning side. And if you are the victor here, you should 100% take futures market because you control the lane, so you control when to base.
Scorch runes.
I think he can go Scorch, because Scorch is not that bad on Victor.
Okay. And
I think Futures Market is just better than Biscuits in most champs. I think Zoe uses Biscuits really well.
I think
LeBlanc uses Biscuits quite well.
I think Jojopion would like do the exact same thing as Lux if like he took Futures Market and like started Sapphire Crystal. I'm pretty sure Would you recommend him to start Sapphire Crystal or Corrupting Pot?
Who? Victor?
Victor, yeah.
Seapot.
Seapot? With Futures Market?
Yeah. Still good. But to play. Yeah. Still good. But to play.
Market?
Yeah. Still good. But to play.
I think Vega should go a little bit further to the side. This way, again, the E will not hit the melees. That should be the game plan for the Victor here. Because then he should get the push. But yeah, still shouldn't change anything. Should still be able to get the push. I like how he just sets. No, it's good. Yeah. And it looks like it's going to be the exact same outcome as I just talked about, right? Even though like Vega got hit by the E while it hit the minions, like a lot of them, so it isn't as perfect as it could be, but it still happened. Like it's still gonna happen. The wave is slow pushing right now to RJS. Because look at how his wave is clumped up.
Oh shit.
Right now, his entire wave is clumped up, and they're just gonna pump at the wave because of the way that Vega pushed or pulled the wave here. Look at this one minion here. It's tanking, saying all of them. So it was really nice. So the same thing will still happen.
Oh shit, Misty.
And again, if he's talking about making it even,
shit.
like this E is, it's not optimal because you're not hitting the entire wave. And in his mindset, you can, I think in his mindset at least, the wave is not gonna be big. Like the wave is not gonna be slow pushing big into him. So, or the wave will probably be slow pushing. I'm not sure how he thinks about it, if he thinks he can get prior or not. But you are able to thin the wave so that the tempo bar that he's talking about with 100% isn't filled up to the max. That's how he's saying it, right? I'm trying to get into his head and play it how he thinks it works, but yeah, it's just not true because you don't have enough damage. Like this is E, which is his max damage bill with relatively high CD.
Shit, Misty.
Right, fully pumped out. 5 seconds still, 6 seconds. And it does 76 damage, which is just not enough at all. Still enough. So you will still get the push on the Victor side. And this is what he was talking about, being worth it on the Lux, which is just not true. And he's already out of potions. And Vega has the push now.
Lux is so dog shit, man.
And then instead of instead of just saying that he is wrong about the fact that you can get Brio, he's saying Lux is dog shit. Yeah, and here it happened. With the slow push, I understand again
with this ping.
what he's saying.
How much
the
CS
fact
did you
that
miss?
Like 6.
the wave is not gonna be as big and you can
have
actually fight back.
140
Keep in mind that Vega is playing on probably 150 ping or something, but yeah, still.
It's a bit cringe.
Do you want to keep playing or do you want to
I have 130 ping. It's a
Okay.
bit cringe.
do you want to keep playing or do you want to reset it or like?
I mean, just leave. I mean,
Yeah.
like
It's
Like
but it's
It-
just like
it's
more
kind of useless one.
even, right? Like it's
yes, but
it's
Yes,
like I
but-
can actually play the game, you know. Lux is like a pretty
Yeah.
dog shit champ. I agree. Like Victor probably wins the matchup,
It's
like no
pretty
matter
useless
what.
only
But
one though.
like it's
But yeah,
even, you know. Like I'm getting more CS.
I don't know why you keep saying this as if I hate early game runes. I don't.
I know.
I'm telling you, I like Scorch.
I like scaling
I
runes.
don't-
I love scaling runes too. I love them.
I just don't agree with you on Lux versus Victor. That's all. Like, I think this was so fucking useless. Like this 1v1. If I'm Lux, I'd hate myself.
Really?
Because I don't know what you mean by the word even. How was that even?
It's even like we're just
What does that mean?
because I
I
got
still crashed third wave. I still get my first base. I'm
It's-
still chilling, right? Like
exactly but you're not 100% fucking me. You're not 100% tempo on me. Like I'm still
but you were
I'm getting
15 CS.
But it doesn't mean anything, right? Because you're giving up so much. If you have C-pot and you have, having C-pot is pretty nice, first and second base, but you're giving up so much gold and so much time where you can have, lost chapter and first item and whatever, right? So it doesn't mean anything.
Yes. At 320, I was all you were same CS as Fudge, and he missed a lot of CS himself.
we both could have played the matchup better, but I think if you play out this simulation like 1,000 times, I'm gonna be.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
probably.
think it's a single time that Lux gets pushed.
I'll probably. Yeah, she won't get pushed. I agree. She'll be
So then
down.
Victor
She'll be
takes
down
this.
like 1 or 2 CS for sure. Like I'll be down 1, 2, 3 CS, but it'll be even. It'll be more even. I'll have the same amount. I'll have like a very similar amount of CS to Victor. I'll get a better recall timing.
But again, like the thing, okay, just said the word he was looking for wasn't even, but contested. Yeah, and again, it doesn't mean anything. You're not contesting for something in this specific game that we just looked at with C9. And again, if you want to be playing around the Lux and you want to be playing around the fact that she can do damage and she has full early game setup, it can work, but that's not why you pick Lux. Just pick Syndra then. Just pick Syndra. Just pick Syndra, right? Then you can actually contest the prio if that's what you want to do. If you want to have the prio and you want to fight and you want to move on the map, pick Syndra. Don't pick Lux. Lux is not picked for that reason.
Where my lane is not completely fucked, I'll like on that wave like
Lux is an extremely scaling mage, right? Extremely long range mage. So if you want to pick her, then you don't pick her because you want to win lane and because you want to have prio in lane. And yes, you can do it, but yeah, you're gonna give up so much time where you can have your first items. And I think in the specific matchup we just looked at, I would prefer to probably take Doran's Ring. But I think Lost Chapter can work as long as you don't trade how Fudge traded, because the way that Fudge traded was so bad.
Like you just reset because you're out of potions, I'm out of potions. We traded, and we have the same amount of minions. You're going to be recalling first than me. I agree. You're going to still have tempo, but it's not going to be as much tempo as it was before.
Yeah, and again, this tempo that he's talking about,
it's not going to be as much tempo.
The tempo he's talking about is not real because you cannot use the tempo for anything. You can go top, you can go bot, but Victor level 3, level 4 will not do anything.
As it was when you're fully sacking the early game. That's what you can't sack the early game that much when you're playing mid lane.
You can though in this game.
I think you can on Lux because Lux is unique because she literally just needs to survive to 530, then she gets.
Vega's saying it as well, but you can sack the early game.
Early game that much when you're playing mid lane.
I think you can on Lux because Lux is unique. Because she literally just needs to survive to 530, then she gets 6 and she can push out any moment she wants.
I think a more consistent way of surviving would be to take early game runes to ensure that you're not fucked like Fudge. Can we open up the screen share again?
I really need to go sleep, man. It's 6:30 a.m.
All right, all good, bro.
And I don't think we will get more. I mean, like I said, like I agree with going early game runes when it changes the dynamic or on certain champions that have more chance of making use of this small advantage, like LeBlanc, Zoe, like you said, like it's more even. I agree, it's more even in the sense that our HP matches each other a bit better, right? I just don't think that Lux will get a consistent factor, like get a consistent lead or use what she did to Victor in that 1v1 in her game compared to like a champion like LeBlanc and Zoe, like if you're LeBlanc and Zoe, if you get an extra 100 damage off, right, that's pretty huge and will more likely turn into something than when you're playing Lux. I think if you do a simulation of Lux versus Victor with your runes, Lux never gets pushed, and I think it's very rare that Victor actually loses something because the Lux has these runes compared to Lux gaining something because she has Futures Market or has these other runes.
Well, and what I'm saying is, Victor still wins the matchup. I agree with you, but Lux, the early game runes would just allow her to play the game easier. Not I know people get caught up on the word easier. Maybe I can use a different word. It just allows her to play the game, and you're saying she'll get an advantage from her runes, right? Like she'll get an advantage from Gathering Storm. She'll get an advantage from whatever Transcend. I don't even know. Futures Market. Yeah. Like
I think she will get huge advantage from Transcendence and Futures.
So it's just a disagreement over the amount of an advantage that you get from runes, right? From like the Futures Market and getting like a mythic first over having a more playable laning phase where you have more pressure on the game and you have better tempo. You can actually trade. You can actually get pretty much every single CS. I'm pretty sure like you can farm dead even with Victor in that matchup with a proper rune setup. And you're going to be getting your items faster. You're going to be getting more CS. You're going to be able to contest vision more. Everyone's going to be able to play the game easier because you have more damage on mid lane earlier. And it's going to secure you the stronger late game. Like you agree, like early game runes are good to secure you a late game. And I think Lux needs it in this matchup. She really does. You can't sack the lane or else the exact same thing that happened to Fudge.
I don't agree at all. Like I think he's come to the wrong conclusion, in my opinion at least. I think you can take D-Ring. I think that's fine. It will allow you to survive in lane. I don't think you can do Last Chapter versus a good player. Not Last Chapter, but Mana Crystal. I think you will lack too much. Like you will find yourself in a difficult situation where you just cannot do anything at all. But I don't agree with the fact that you need to take cookies. You need to take... you need to take cookies, right? And you need to take Gathering Storm, or not Gathering Storm, but Scorch and Absolute Focus. I think if you really, really want to, you could take Scorch, and I think that would be fine, but you definitely should take Transcendence and Futures Market. So I think he's come to the wrong conclusion, and if you can't see that, then that's just how it is.
Will happen. You will get fucked, man.
Bro, it's pointless to keep discussing this. Like, I told you, I agree with early game runes, just not on Lux.
Well,
like this versus Victor.
I guess then I just disagree. I guess
yes, that's okay. We can disagree. You know, like I completely agree. It'll be more even in the sense that, yeah, I mean Victor will be a bit lower. I also don't think like, for example, let's say Futures Market, she will deal more damage than what Scorch and stuff will give her if she actually uses the Futures Market one. Like, if she uses it to, let's say she at some breakpoint, she gets Chapter, on a base, she can buy Blasting Wand, whereas otherwise she would have an Amtome or something. Then she has more damage from Futures Market.
I just think she'll be getting more damage from being able to get more CS. You know?
That is the most delusional statement I've ever fucking heard. Like Futures Markets, okay, let's do the math. Just because I don't want anyone to have some sort of argument with this. Futures Markets. Let's just go 5 minutes, right? 10 minutes. You use it at 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. Let's say that. You will have 170 gold to 195 gold. How much CS is that? That is for sure 2 waves with a cannon. That is for sure 2 waves. So for him to have this, he needs to have farmed an entire cannon wave and an extra wave on top of that. So that is really, 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 really not true. Even remotely close. So like, please don't try to argue with that. That would just make me really tilted.
I'm saying.
And that I don't agree on either, because she doesn't lose CS because of her runes in this matchup.
Wait, can we look at the replay? I know you have to go, but it's probably just real quick if you can open it up. I'm just really curious. Like,
yes. Okay, so wave 1, right? Sadly we don't get to see exactly lane position, but you know, here's wave 1 and then wave 2 build up, right? He lost the melee because if he lost it here, he walks up, gets chunked for zero reason, absolute no reason to walk up here. Watch.
Right.
Right, we agree. It's no reason. Like you say to stop the bounce, but like I said, Victor can crash for it anyways. So
Crash third?
whatever. Yes, like I did in 1v1.
With these runes? Did you crash third? I don't think you crashed
I
third,
did.
you?
I crashed third. I did.
He did.
I crashed cannon on you.
He
Did you?
crashed third.
Yes, look. I crashed third. See? I crashed third on you.
Okay.
And I just base.
Yeah, maybe I misremembered. And then you based, yeah.
So
And it's
yes.
like,
and then
And this
Yeah.
is
Maybe I
his rune setup, right? With the
misremembered.
full
And then you
aggressive
based, yeah.
runes.
So-
So.
and it's
yes.
like,
and then
and then it's even.
so like
And-
he's lost 2 CS so far because randomly he missed a CS.
It's nothing to do with the runes
Right,
at
and
all.
then second wave comes, and last hitting on turret has no difference unless you want him to go D-ring. By the way, I think if you want to play Lux into Victor, I think honestly D-ring probably better.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Corrupting
she
Pot's probably
can't-
troll.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a different argument. That
Yeah.
I can see swing maybe, but yeah, I would not go corruption. Anyways, like here, like she's not losing CS.
It's pointing out the fact that you
honestly,
should go
no
D-ring
difference
on
unless you
Lux.
wanted to
And
go D-ring.
yeah, that's what I
By the
said,
way, I
right?
think if you want to play Lux into Victor, I think honestly D-ring probably better.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
I can see swing maybe, but so far, at this point, yes. But like I said, her HP is a bit fake. She should be like this is the 4th wave, right? And she should be able now to tank a trade to make a pushback into her. But she has lost so much potions already and HP for no real reason because of the 2 bad trades. She should have lost HP. Yes, she can't prevent everything, but 2 times he walks up and gets chunked would be nice. But again, he shouldn't be this low.
So it's just a freeze, right? Like if this Lee Sin,
Yes.
if this Lee Sin comes mid here, like her game's fucked. Like you agree, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here, this is what I said at the very start. This, I agree, is bad with Mana Crystal. Because here, you could have Amp Tome and Corruption, so now you have more sustain compared to Refill. But I don't agree on level 1 to 3 because it's...
But again, like this lane stage should not take place in the first place. Like, in my opinion, the wave should be pushed on 3 or 4. Or not 3, 4, I mean on 3. And then 4, 5 bounce. Or you can also push 2 and then let it crash. So if you are Victor, you push 2 here, you crash, and then on 4 the bounce back happens and you try to fin the wave on 3 and freeze here, and then Lee Sin comes around on 4 and you take the 2v2, depending on if junglers can or supports can move as well. But that's what you can do.
Naturally more HP with triple potion than Corruption. You know,
Yeah,
Corruption
more-
would be lower if you had C-Pot.
More HP sustain. Yep.
Yes. Here, I agree with you, yes. Here he is weaker compared to Corruption Potion M. But yeah, this I am very confident I will still win though. But yeah, this is sadly very sad for us that want to watch the matchup that he actually stayed.
Yeah, he died.
Because Lux do much to that. He can W the wave, sure. Market.
Little.
Ever.
Like, she started losing a lot of CS. No, it was like post 6. Like she kept it like relatively even within 10 CS, and then she started like bleeding. No, it was like post 6. Like she
So
she
now
kept
after
it like
he's
relatively
saying
even
like
within.
after lane, he's saying now his point is that after lane, like the runes are still bad. So this is pretty interesting.
10 CS, and then she started like bleeding CS. Oh, because the early like, it doesn't stop there. Like she got her last chapter, right? She got bailed out by Jarvan, and
Yes.
so now she should be fine, right? She should be able to do what you're saying, which is like ER the wave and wave clear forever, right? And just be completely fine. But this is the point in the game where she starts falling behind really fucking hard in CS because Victor's early game runes and setup is still allowing him.
Okay, this is the most delusional thing that I've ever heard. I think like this is worse than the futures market thing. This has zero to do with like Lux runes. Like this has nothing to do with runes whatsoever. Like now he's really just trying to like hold on to something that just isn't there. This is something to do with how the team rotates and how they play around. I mean, objective at this point, Herald, right? So this is nothing to do with runes at all. So I really hope that this gets
Him
set.
to be stronger than
But
her.
what
Like
But we just lost a Herald fight where Jinx is rotating and enemy ADC is not. What does that have to do with Lux?
I'm just talking
Look.
about mid CS right now. Mid CS.
Yes. No, but look. Victor got mid wave here. Of course it's gonna be CS difference. if Lux is mid now, she would get CS. He's 12 CS behind. Lux loses a whole wave in mid because Victor is in mid here, and Jinx took Lux's mid wave.
Yeah, she.
What does that have to do with runes?
They're rotating because they can't get because Lux can't get push or any sort of control on this Victor. Like even
Lux,
with this
Lux can be mid here with Fresh, and she gets push. She could just ult the wave if she wanted to as well.
She can ER the wave, yeah, and then she'll be useless for a fight.
Yeah, but she has Fresh here and Jinx. You can't say that Victor should get push here. Lux is just AFK on Herald.
Victor will always get push. Of course he will.
Not here. Not with Fresh and Jinx covering. It will not push in her face.
Yeah, she'll get a one-wave timing with jungle support diff. Yeah, 100%.
Yes, and I'm saying
if jungle support can always get you push mid. That's not.
Listen. She's 12 CS behind here.
Okay.
Right. I mean, wait. Okay, so you're pausing so much. Holy shit. Okay, let's see if I can. So here. Okay.
10 CS.
Here she's 8 CS.
Yeah.
8 CS behind. This wave comes. She loses a full wave because Jinx takes over the wave. That has nothing to do with runes.
Okay, we can't see minimap, but I'm gonna assume Jinx is mid.
Victor's a lot stronger at this point. Your team,
no, it's
your
because
team
the
Cloud9
call is to rush.
Feels pressured because Lux cannot play the game mid lane. She'll never get control of mid lane against Victor. She'll never be able to push unless she uses her ultimate ability, her most important spell, her most highest damage spell. She has to use that to clear the wave and get control of mid lane.
It's not true.
Victor will still be pushing her in at this point in the game. Whatever fucking futures market bullshit, blasting on futures market damage, Victor is gonna still be winning this matchup. He's still gonna be pushing if it's just a pure 1v1, no jungle support hover. And they can't fight. Your team feels pressure to go and rotate for.
Lux can easily at this point Lux can just double E, and she basically destroys the entire wave. So maybe double E and maybe a Q potentially, but she can easily destroy the wave, and she can do it in a very from a very, very safe position. So not true at all.
For this rift because they can't play the game. They're gonna get pushed in and they're gonna lose control.
They're not gonna get pushed in. What are you saying, man? There's a Lux that can just eat the wave. At this point, if you are Lux, you are very happy. If you are Seraph, you are very happy. If you are 6, you are very happy because you can one-shot the wave with a rotation. So this is the most delusional thing, man.
Not even what I'm talking about. I completely agree. Victor is better than Lux.
It's so wrong.
I'm just explaining the CS difference. She just gave this wave to Jinx.
Yeah,
so there's gonna be a CS difference.
Yeah, there's gonna be a CS difference.
I feel like he's trolling. I feel like the way that he's saying stuff, he must be trolling, and he must just be looking for attention at this point. There's no way that he's serious.
Your team feels pressured, bro. They can't do anything. They can't get control of mid because their mid is fucking worthless. Their mid is a dog. This guy is worthless. That is not true,
you dumb fucking ape.
They have to rotate.
No,
they have to fucking 3v1 this Victor because he's in a piss kingdom right now. That's just what's happening.
So you think here, right? So you think that if Lux has Scorch here and Absolute Focus, that she can get push versus Victor 1v1 here?
It'll be more.
Please don't say no.
It'll be more.
Please don't say no.
It'll be more even.
No,
it'll be more even, but probably
it doesn't
not.
make difference. It doesn't make any difference.
Lux is a pretty fucking dog shit champ. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, good. At least he knows that.
Is better.
I don't think Xerath would get pushed or anything either, but
yes, but he is still a better champ than Lux.
He's better, yeah.
But bro, we could speak for 4 hours, man. But like I said, you don't deserve the hate you're getting for this. But I need to go sleep, man.
All right, yeah. Have a good night, bro. Thank you so much for talking.
Bye, man.
Later, bro.
Okay, that was it. I think RJS has some points that you can definitely discuss about the fact that with the rune set he's talking about, you can look for 2v2 and you can look for 3v3 or 3v2 with the HP being lower and stuff like that. He has some good points. He's just extremely bad at explaining what he actually means. and he means contest. He doesn't mean even. Like, he means that you can actually contest waves and you can actually play the game. But he is just very bad at explaining, and that's fine. It is what it is. Not everyone can be good at it, right? And that's fine. He will probably improve from it, and like, it's so good to have people like Vega actually like come in and tell people what is wrong and what is right. And I mean, I try to do the same thing in some sort of facet, and I will continue to do that. Because it is so important that, like, it's important to have discussions, and it's important to be open-minded. It's just it worries me a lot to see that in the first video I talked about, where he here did not discuss the fact that, you know, the Fush is literally trolling lane. He did not see that. He didn't see that as a challenger professional mid lane. He didn't see that. That troubles me a lot. Makes me very worried for him. But I hope that he will improve from it. He will learn from it. But he has some valid points, and instead of shitting on him, as I mean a lot of people do, at least listen and then come to a conclusion. Not just because LS or whatever is shitting on him, telling him he's a flat earth theory, whatever. Instead of just jumping on that train, actually try to listen to what he has to say and let him explain himself. And then now that you come to the conclusion, like after you hear for 2 hours, I've sit and I've looked and I've watched at what he's saying. I think that he has some valid points, but he is extremely delusional and very closed-minded. He's not delusional, but one-dimensional mindset. And I hope that he will work on that for the future. I hope that he will see the other perspective as well, because he is very close-minded in how he thinks that mid lane should be played and how mid lane can be played. So I hope that he will change that. But again, stop just jumping on the hype train. Like, stop jumping on the hype train and fucking think for yourself as well, okay? I'll stop the recording here and I will put it on Patreon. See ya.